Hey guys, welcome to the 4th episode of JCP Podcast. Today we've got Freddie from Shogun Social. He's going to tell us all about his exciting journey from apprentice to what now?
Operations manager.
Operations manager.
Serious.
Yeah.
Very exciting. So really, Freddie, I just want to get to know a little bit more about kind of like where you came from, sort of like how you got into the role you are now. So, kind of how did you step foot into the industry? I'd like to know a bit more about that.
It's actually a funny story. Like, so I've always had a creative background ever since. Even like when I was a toddler, there's a fun fact for viewers. My nan used to make the videos for Gardener's World. Yeah, so she used to give me disposable cameras and just like let me run around and catch them, whatever. Carried it on through like school, college, uni, and I was in my final year at uni, and I was like, man, I've got no money. Like, I just want to like have a job. I was stuck in magazines as well with W.H. Smith's at the time. So, but basically, I kept going to football matches, and all the fans were like, "Oh, you've got really good opinion. Like, you should like start a YouTube or something like that." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know about YouTube." Anyway, so I started an Instagram account, and then this was about a few months into my final year, and suddenly it was gaining like massive momentum. Like, I was getting more engagement than a massive page in my niche. And it came, I think it was about January time, so I had about 5 months left, and I was like, don't really want to do this degree anymore. I was like, I want to follow whatever it was. I didn't even like really know marketing was a really big like thing. I had no idea of the avenue. So I left uni, and then I was searching. I was doing all the hours I could at W.H. Smith's while I was waiting. And then I found digital marketing apprenticeship over in Tottenham.
Right.
And I was like, okay, yeah, it does a bit of social media, SEO, like I had a clue what any of that meant. And then basically I went, and then that afternoon they were like, hey, you got the job. I just went for an interview. So I fell into it accidentally, but I still run that account now. I've expanded to Twitter, but yeah, it's been a hell of a journey. I've had marketing roles, social media roles, operations roles now, so everything's different. But yeah, that's my life the last 5 years in a few minutes.
5 years in the making.
So why do you think that initial like video took off? Was there something like on the initial channel?
I always like to hear people's opinions. So when I was posting content, I'd be like the typical comment below and stuff like that. And I've always based it around like my tag is like for the community always, right? So it doesn't matter if people have like really weird views, or as long as they're not offensive, you can post it on my channel and get involved. And I think that's what people like. They're like, oh, okay, like, because social media, you put an opinion out there and everyone's like, claws are out at the moment. But I've always been like, yeah, if you want to share it, come here. You will feel valued, be part of the community, and people like that. So I think I've just always kept to my values, and people like that.
Yeah. It makes sense. I think people find value in having that conversation. So it's like creating a bond with sort of other creators that I look up to, and that's so important. I think for not just like video creators, but like for like businesses and everyone with a presence on social media, it's so important to create that conversation with your community, because otherwise it's kind of just like a blank wall that you're talking to and interacting with.
Big time. Big time. And I've also done stuff like I used to do Q&As every Sunday and stuff like that. But all these lessons I've learned, I've done for businesses as well, and we do for Shogun as well, trying to make it. Even though we're a business, we want to get to know our followers and everyone to get involved, because it's not a competition as much as people think it is online. It's not. That's one takeaway I'd say. But and then I say accidentally, I'm now operations manager. But I tell you what, actually, going back to the community point, is Pretty Little Marketer put on a post this morning. Said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, I always wanted to be a footballer, like every young lad. Probably like I just so bad at it. But I did a comment underneath, and it was, I used to organise my team, right, 5-a-side team, whose parents are picking us up, when are we going to do everything like that, right? But those lessons that I did then, that's when I was at school. Now, I still use now. When we do the podcast, everything, like James always jokes about, we're in a meeting, he goes to his emails, he's got 10,000 meetings from me that I've booked in. But it's the same sort of thing where I just have to be organised.
Yeah.
And I've taken it all the way from there, a bit like my account, all the way to today.
Yeah.
Wow. I think I'm the same. Like, I get so fussy about being organised as well. Like, I have to plan everything to like a molecular level.
Yeah.
It's like today when we were organising the podcast,
Yeah.
I was messaging them, chat, guys, we need to sort this out. And they were both chock-a-block busy. I was in my apprenticeship meeting, it was just mental. So I was rushing about like a headless chicken. So I get what's coming from.
Well, we even booked in a half an hour slot to clean the room.
Yeah.
Beforehand. That's still no
Yeah, but
levels.
we had we had an hour and a half meeting with a client and everything like that today. But I was like, to be fair, my personal life's like that. I actually asked George, because I look after the finances at Shogun, but I do all the spreadsheets for my own finances. And I said to him openly, I was like, does that make me a geek? And he was like, yeah, but it's cool.
It's a cool title to have. It is a cool title to have.
Yeah, but it's like, I just have to be organised. But I see like, I know like all my friends, they just spend all their money and stuff like that. But that's for the next episode. We can go into that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole 2 hour slot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes
big
sense.
time.
I suppose the next thing I kind of wanted to dive into a bit more. Obviously, you did an apprenticeship to get into the role, and that's where we're at now. That's what we're doing. We're in your shoes as you were when you first got into the industry. So I suppose really what I want to know is kind of what did you do in your apprenticeship? How did your apprenticeship prepare you for a full-time role?
Yeah, so I was in a team of I think it was eight of us. But I did the social media, we did blog writing, the website. So straight away I was exposed to stuff like WordPress. We used later at Shogun, but I can't remember what I used to use to schedule content. SEO, so all these things I was like exposed to all at once, rather than being like, oh yeah, you can make the coffees. While I was out, I've never made a coffee either, like for anyone. Not because I'm like, so, but people have this misconception of, oh yeah, you've got an apprenticeship. Like, oh, that's a bad thing. Some of my friends still have apprenticeship now, down in the dogs, but they're on like more money than me.
Yeah.
They're on like big money. So it's a title where people like, when I was out, I was like, yeah, I'm an apprentice, but I'm holding my own.
Yeah.
And people value that. One lady who still comments on my stuff now is Tina Turner. She's not a singer. I thought about it the whole way here while I was walking. But she was a managing director. But what was really good is I had that exposure to. She was quite a firm leader, but she made me like want to work hard for her. So having that exposure to go in, just in the office, she wasn't in London or anything like that, and just say, oh, like, what do you think of this? Well, she gave me feedback, but I think I developed such a good relationship with her because she could see how much I wanted. And like one of the points that I wanted to come here and say is you can teach skills, like you can teach someone to do SEO or whatever, but you can't teach attitude.
Yeah.
So many people fail on that part where they say, oh, like, I'm just here for a paycheck. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't sit with me.
No.
I think going back to what you said about being exposed, I think that like was when you immediately arrive, that is such a great thing because you only really learn by making mistakes. And when you get thrown into something and they go, well, you know, see what you can do, then if you produce something great, then that's, you know, that's amazing. But if you fail and then you can come back at it again, and yeah, you're always improving. And as an apprentice, you have to be prepared to improve.
Yeah.
I think as well is people think, oh, you've got an apprenticeship, but you guys must be doing like what course are you guys doing alongside this?
So it's a junior content producer, so basically everything content. So
Yeah.
social media management,
Everything
marketing,
in between.
everything in between.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole-
It's quite a broad spectrum, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bit. I did level 3 digital marketing, but it was the same thing where it was like SEO, paid ads, everything in between. But it's such a lot of work that you have to put in. I remember all the evenings I was like, I just left uni. Okay, now I can like relax. And now I'm grafting all the time doing
Yeah.
this. And it would be weekends, it'd be everything. And people don't appreciate that. They just think, oh yeah, you make teas and that. But so it was good. It was good when I was there. I had a really good team around me. It was really unique actually. So I remember one Friday I got a message from the owner. She was like, "Oh, yeah, got a big meeting on Monday," and I was like, never had an email from her. I was like, okay, this is going to be like either being like laid off or I don't know what's going on. Anyway, went in Monday and the company had folded. Like this was completely out of the blue, right? I remember we all went down to this pub in Tottenham and we just sat in this field and we were like, what's just happening? Because I basically now I needed to do an employer to basically fund the rest of my course. So I was like, okay, no, don't just have to find a job. I have to find someone to pay this amount. Who's going to do
that's
that?
hard.
And it was actually the best advice I got. I think Tina gave me it. She was like, just get on LinkedIn and just post. So I did. And someone knew someone, that's how it always goes, and they needed someone to come in. And I went in for 9 months. They paid for the rest of my course. It was a telecommunications company. And I did their marketing. It was brilliant. I was just like the sole marketer. So I basically just did their website and social, right? But there was stuff where they did live events in Amsterdam, so I went out there, like my phone, stayed on this like, I don't know, it was like this modern barge, crazy, like you wouldn't believe, going to networking parties all night. But that's the life of like an apprentice. People think, oh yeah, you just make teas and get food. But yeah, that's not true at all.
Yeah. No, I think that's really interesting. So your first bit, you were like thrown into all these different things, all the different parts of marketing, and then I'm assuming you got a feel for like what you like the most, and then you got to do like just be the sole marketer. I think that's like a cool experience going from two extremes almost.
I think that's it. I got exposed to everything. I was like, I don't know, like I don't mind paid ads, but that's not really my groove and stuff like that. And then I went in. I just got to do what I loved, which is good. And then they paid for the rest of my course, and then like that was just the agreement. They were like, yeah, you can do that. But I was so thankful because otherwise I wouldn't have the qualification. I think I got like 5 qualifications out of that course. I couldn't do it without them. So shout out to those guys. That if they find your podcast, that'd be good.
Yeah. I think maybe through the power of LinkedIn that could happen.
Yeah.
So do a little mini plug. I did a post on it about it on LinkedIn, basically saying that there is definitely people out there that are dreaming of a job that I think, oh, I'm never going to get it. I'm going to be stuck working in retail. I'm going to be stuck in education. Or I'm going to be stuck on the dole.
Yeah.
It's like start posting on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't even need to worry about the nitty gritty. Like, just be yourself. And I think that I had a conversation with someone the other day on LinkedIn. Someone reached out to me and basically just said that just be yourself, talk about things that you do, and be open and honest. And I think that's key. I think that LinkedIn as a platform has changed now to the point that it's like it's authentic rather than like a bunch of businessmen in suits.
It's almost like a authentic Facebook.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. But I saw your post, and you know I've got one ready for next week, right? And it's about, I believe that the best time you find your ideas is not being at your desk, right? I was walking through a field on Saturday, and I was thinking of content ideas. I was at Tesco last night, my missus, doing the food shop, and I was like, oh yeah, we can do next week on our podcast, we can do a Q&A and stuff like that. And you actually, like for me, or in the shower, I always think like these random posts where I'm like, you know what, tomorrow when I get in, I'm gonna do this.
That needs to be a series. Freddie's shower thoughts.
Yeah. Comment below if you want that. But yeah, it's funny how the power of LinkedIn goes. But I've met some really good people. But it's fantastic, underrated.
Yeah.
Sure.
100%.
I think there's a lot of people who want to get in the industry and they just don't think about joining LinkedIn. They have all these ambitions of wanting to get in the industry and just kind of sit there and hope it comes towards them. But like putting yourself on LinkedIn, putting yourself on Instagram, all of that is just putting yourself out there to be noticed. And as you say, LinkedIn is such a powerful platform to network.
So what it is as well is when I was searching for an apprenticeship, I thought like, yeah, it's going to be whatever, doing all this evening work and everything like that. But it's propelled me so much further, because also I didn't want to go into a social media job where I was like, oh yeah, I run an account, because everyone thinks that they, because you've got a Facebook, profile, you can do my job.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Heard that
But
one.
I knew if I sacrificed my time that it would propel me further, and it has to be fair. So that's what I would say to people. Take away from marketing, if you wanted to work in the boats, for example, you get hands-on experience, welding ships and everything like that, or wherever, or HR, or all these things, where you don't get at uni. I've been to uni. It's nothing on an apprenticeship. Get that on your.
We're going to frame that.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, it is.
So after your apprenticeship, what kind of things did you take away from it and think that was great, and can take that forward into your job now?
From what I think, you have to turn up every day giving 100%, right? Because we had people where they would. Comes back to that paycheck thing where I always the Shogun team probably hate me, but I always demand 100%. That's the minimum standard, but that's what I brought, and then a few other people in my courses did as well, and then they got rewarded. Someone worked at a successful recruitment company in Fareham, and the council and stuff like this. So I would say turn up, give 100%, but also if you're given stuff that's not your jam, just get on with it.
Yeah.
Because you can sit there and be like, oh, I'm not doing that, or I always think build for the CV.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't really like paid ads, but I got in my CV, I can do it.
It comes back to the attitude thing as well, isn't it? That if it's not in your skill set, still give it a go, because you want that attitude of, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, I'll give it a go. I'll build on it, but an apprenticeship is almost like everything I wish uni was. Do I regret going to uni? I don't know if I regret it, but it was nothing on an apprenticeship. I was just like, wow, I'm involved in doing actual stuff rather than sitting in a classroom, or my lecturer just cancelling all my lectures all the time. They charge me a lot.
I've heard horror stories about that.
Yeah, but an apprenticeship is great. I would recommend it. Anyone that wants to get their toe in the door, like you said, where they're like, I work in retail or whatever it may be. There is so many. I saw, we were talking this because we might get an apprentice at Shogun. There's a record number of incentives and industries and roles and everything out there. Just got to search for it.
Yeah, it's really picking up, isn't it? It's good to see.
It's big time. I want people to just smash that stereotype of just just doing nothing, being an apprentice, being the bottom dog of the food chain. It's not what it is. It's brilliant.
It's such a good opportunity for self-development as well. Like I said, when we recorded the first episode of the podcast, I would not be sat here right now at the start of my apprenticeship. It's like when you put 100% in every day, it gives you the opportunity to develop in yourself and grow your confidence and learn to speak with confidence and have an opinion and not be scared to voice it. And I think that's a big thing for a lot of people, is that they get a bit of imposter syndrome. They'll be like, I'm an apprentice, I don't want to speak up, or it's not like that.
That's people's problem on LinkedIn as well. They think, oh, I can't. It's full of 50-year-old men. It's not like that at all. But it's getting over that posture syndrome. But it's funny, isn't it? It's funny how it goes. Funny how it plays out as well. Because I never thought I'd be sat. When I walked in that office in Tottenham, I never thought I'd be sat here. Today is crazy. Had a world pandemic as well, between it. So.
Yeah.
Jesus. I suppose the next thing then is you've done a lot of growing in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And you managed to condense it into 20 minutes?
Yeah.
I suppose the next question now is, what are your plans for the future? It's a very broad question.
I hate that question.
I know.
Do you know what it is? It reminds me of when you're at school and they're like, what do you want to be?
Write down a bit of paper.
Yeah.
Train driver and B&Q hay mixer was my 2 options.
You know what? Mine was, I did this quiz in year 11. It was glass maker. And I was like, that's so boring.
Glass maker?
Yeah.
That's disposable pint glasses like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. But what would I think one thing that Shogun's allowed me to do is and this is really like personal, is I've always on LinkedIn wanted to get, the dots when you get a promotion or something. And I got that, and I was like, I don't know why that was a target of mine, but I got it, and I want to build on that. But at the moment it's so busy. There's so much stuff going on. Since I've changed, I was talking to James the other day, where the business has almost turned from like a child to a teenager, where we've got really good team members on, we've got like content coming out our ears, new clients. But I've had like some bad like pandemic cost me like 2 jobs, plus the company that closed down. So I just want to find somewhere where I can just settle and grow. But it's good that I've got James as boss, because we work together at another place. So I think we get along. But I think moving forward, I'd like to just stay in operations. Like, I love finance. I was saying to George, who's our social manager, I was like, I just love writing contracts, which is so lame. But he was like, why? I was like, I just like the fine print. How boring is that? But it's something that I would never ever thought. I thought, yeah, got to be creative. But this is like the total opposite. I still do some content creation, but where it's finance, invoices, helping run the business, it's all this stuff where I'm like, again, being exposed to, like, well, I've never like seen it. I've never done anything like this. But it's brilliant. So I think I would like to, I don't like to look too far ahead, but just help Shogun get to the next stage, I think, of their growth, because it's building like a snowball.
I think when you work in a company that's growing, it allows you to grow alongside it.
Yeah.
So like Michelin Stones as a company is growing ridiculously fast.
Yes.
Even since I joined in September, we've basically almost doubled the amount of people in the team, which is crazy. But also I feel that as a person, my confidence has grown, and I think that I would never have thought in a million years that I'd be here now and be having conversations with some of the people that I'm having conversations with. You know what I mean? I can't think of other people my age outside of my work stratosphere that have a network like the one that I'm building, and that to me is partially down to Michelin Stones and whatever, but it's also down to the growth of the company and me growing alongside it, and I think that is incredible.
Do you know what it is as well about Michelin Stones is from an outsider's point of view, is I always see that you guys are looked after. So a massive point of taking on apprentices is like you have to water them like a seed. So if you're like being a, like whatever you want to call it, playing up as an employer or anything like that, that is going to affect this individual the whole way along their journey. So whenever I see you guys, I see other people online, it's like being looked after. It's like, okay, cool, because I think that's so underappreciated. And when people take it on, I said to James, when we take someone on, I was like, okay, like they're an apprentice, so we're gonna have to like double down with like everything, dedicate loads of time to get them, going. But that's nothing against them. It's how it is with all new starters, to be fair. And then
I think it comes with the industry when it comes to having the network, because I was speaking to my brother who works in finance, and he was like, well, you use LinkedIn all the time, would I find people on there to connect with and stuff, and he's in such like an echo chamber, because and he only knows people he works with in his company, where it's so great being in this industry that we work here at Michelin Stones, but we can interact with so many different people on LinkedIn and get so many great connections to, especially as an apprentice, help us going forward.
Yeah.
Big time. These people as well, like on my ones, like Tina Turner and other people, they've stayed with me, they've seen me grow, which is fantastic. But one thing as well that I want to say is, it's helped me as well reach my dream industry. So I've always wanted to work in football. Last year I was lucky enough to work for BT Sports, where I basically looked after their accounts of Wales, England and Scotland footballers, and basically just monitor the abuse. I couldn't even tell, it was about 1.5k per week incidents, and me and this other guy was thinking it'd be from like 6 a.m. all the way to midnight. It'd be the pundits as well, and I've managed to do some freelance stuff at Gold as well, which their global audience is like 15 million or something. Crazy targets as well they've got. But I wouldn't have been able to do any of that. I wouldn't be able to sit here, any of that, if I didn't sacrifice and just like, I say sacrifice, it is. You have to put in the work. You're not gonna like, if you're out there thinking I'm gonna get an apprenticeship to get the easy route.
No.
Yeah, you definitely have to work hard. There's no way about it.
But it was good when I remember I got my certificates through and I was like, wow. I had to like fight for them. But again, build the CV, build momentum, and then you knows where it take you. I've done stuff like, it's good on my CV, got like BT Sports and all that, like bigging myself up, but that's what everyone does. I'm gonna be totally transparent, do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's been a journey so far. It's only been like 5 years, maybe 25.
A long way to go, isn't there? And I think that's what makes it so exciting. Like, I'm only 18, dude. You know?
Look older than me.
Ouch. Yeah, it's scary, it's exciting, but it's everything that I want it to be, because I always have been driven towards something. What that something has changed over the years, very much. But I don't want to stop progression in my life. I want to continue developing and continue improving until the day that I die.
That's
a little
deep.
bit
It's
deep.
deep. I know it's deep.
It's good
but,
philosophy. Good philosophy.
There's no point in my opinion. There's no point in living if you're not always aiming for something.
Don't want to stagnate.
Don't want to
There you
stagnate.
go.
Just want to keep moving.
Yeah.
We've got two of them.
But
It's torture.
maybe when I'm 80, I might want to aim to get out of bed and make coffee in the morning. You know what I mean? That aim's always going to be different, but the point is that there's always going to be something to aim
Yeah,
for.
you're always going to be doing your best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what matters.
There you go.
I'll tell you what, I had that at home, right? My missus hates it because I'm like, although I do my account, I've done other stuff where I've done like football designs, had a marketing account during the pandemic, stuff like this. And I have the same thing where I'm like, yeah, I've got to be doing something. She's like watching YouTube or something like that. And I'm like, nah, she's like, spend time with me. And I'm like, I feel like I've gone down a rabbit hole and I expose myself. But it's the same thing where I always want to just do my best. I don't think like a few years ago I'd ever sit in front of a camera and be like,
Yeah, same.
and just speak openly. We do it, there's ones that we post at Shogun where it's just me talking to a camera. I just thought like that's so not like me, but it's like me now.
Yeah.
Near you, near me.
I think it's similar for me when you talked about kind of locking yourself away and doing your designs. When I was working freelance before I started here, I was very much under that impression that I had to put in the hours, and it was perhaps unsociable at times, which was kind of lucky because it was the pandemic, so everything was unsociable. But I spent a lot of time inside, a lot of time making designs, marketing on social media, and then putting that hard work has now got me to today. And yeah, you have to kind of sometimes do something that's not particularly glamorous.
Big time. When I go into interviews in the past, honestly, about 50% of them they always ask about my side hustle. That's the first thing they go, what's this? Tell me about this. Because they probably, and I think that's something else I'd recommend to someone is if you want to get into an industry, just make your own experience. Start a blog, personal brand, Instagram page. Don't matter if you get 5 likes. Who cares?
It just shows initiative, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're putting in the work. Yeah.
That's it. People don't get paid. People have been like, in the past, you don't get paid. Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
For me, for me, and the free tickets. No, I'm joking.
Okay, so I suppose we'll just wrap up, but it would be good to get your perspective, your final knowledge, your final thoughts. If you could give any piece of advice to someone, whether they're in our shoes, in an apprenticeship currently, or someone looking to get into an apprenticeship, you've been through it. You've done that journey within 5 years, and what you've done in that time is fair play to you, bloody outstanding. So give us your expert knowledge, I guess. No pressure.
No pressure. Number one, I'd say start a side hustle. You've got to start somewhere. And if you came in, say if you were working at Sainsbury's, but you came into an employer and you were like, you know what, I work here, but I also run this Instagram account that's about trainers. If you can show them, you've got the basic skills. I don't think people realise how powerful that can be. Also, I would say don't plan too far ahead. There's always pressure where like you have to look perfect, you have to act perfect. All this like.
I felt like it's drilled in you at school. You know.
Yeah.
You've got to know what you're doing.
Yeah. And it's just like no, just go in an open mind. Because say if you had like the same apprenticeship as you guys, you could be like, no, I love social media. Go in and be like, no, I love paid ads. Like it's my thing. So side hustle, open minded, just attitude. But you know that's just a personal thing. Just if someone's giving you the opportunity, just do your best. And you know, got to do your homework. Got to do that.
Always do your homework. Or your coursework. Or your apprenticeship work.
That's the takeaway. Always do your homework.
I give you so many taglines.
Yeah, I might have to start making a little like visitors quote book.
Yeah.
We just fill it in every podcast with all the best lines. We can probably get a few good clips out of it too, alright? So sweet. So thank you for coming over and chatting to us today. It's been a pleasure. I'm sure there'll be many more. It would be good to find out more about your money saving expert tips maybe.
Yeah.
Sweet. So thank you guys for listening, and we will see you all next week.
Bye.
See you later.